is I wanted to kind of start the day off with a discussion on just like the reality of how hard being an entrepreneur is all the time, not clocking in and working for somebody else, the amount of hours it takes. I feel really overwhelmed a lot because I'm teaching as much as I am, and I love that. And I'm running Fons, which is it's an intense adventure too. And the techniques that we're using to understand that working for yourself it's an endeavor, right? That has much more exposure, much more risk. And, some of the tricks that we do to just kind of jump things off to remain sane and to feel good about it. And then I wanted to jump into these ideas of what actually our goals are going to be for like Q1 and Q2 of next year, and our personal businesses. Like, Tony, you're going to love what Lenny's up to. He's just starting out. He's got this rock solid goal of just getting his first 5 students to do in-home lessons with. Lenny, Tony's kind of like one of the true monsters of the piano teaching community as far as decent human beings. He's been doing it a really long time, has a great life. He'd be a great person for you to connect with.
Yeah, so I started pretty early on. So I would say probably I started teaching around 22. I'm 40 now, so about 18 years. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Tony's become a real kind of bastion of the community as far as other music teachers, and giving a lot back. And you're kind of your angle is kind of, you're the king of the quality of life, right? Which is that
that's what people seem to see. It's nice that people see that. I mean, I feel good. I don't have a lot of the issues with running my business that I see, kind of creep up in a lot of the groups that we both belong to, where people are like, it's like the chasing payments, or like, how do I talk? A lot of it seems to be like communication based and all that stuff. So I don't really have a lot of those issues.
Right.
And Fons has helped a lot with that, where part of it was just being kind of relaxed about it in the first place. Like I was just kind of like, as long as they like pay me within the month that like lessons are happening, I was fine with it. I didn't really have like this strict structure, but as I started building a family and everything, like, demands came in, I needed to streamline things more. And then I got into Fons, and I got some of the families that, were having a difficult time remembering to make payments. I got them all into Fons first, and then everything just streamlined a lot easier. And it's really just been in the last 2 years. I was studying like what Clinton Pratt's been doing, like his whole thing with the all-inclusive tuition model, and just everything's factored in. It's just one price, everything's factored in. Like, this is what you get access to everything I do. The first year, like the transition, moving from like a per lesson system to a tuition program, there was some explaining to do. And, is it the same amount this month? Like, you're on break this week or something. And it's like, yeah, no, it's divided out and all that stuff. So you have to explain it to them, especially if they've been with you for a long time. But I've got it so dialed in now, like the way that I explain it from the beginning. And I think the key to it that a lot of people don't really want to do is that I still offer the per lesson billing, just like you do. So when somebody says to me, they say, how much does it cost for a lesson? I can just tell them. I don't have to be like, well, it's not really based on a per lesson thing. You have to enroll in this program, and then you get. It's like, I can say like, no, it's this many dollars for this many minutes. However, if you like, that's exactly what I tell them. I say I give them the pricing for 30, 45, and 60-minute sessions as an individual lesson. And I said, for students who want to take weekly lessons, I offer a tuition program at a greater value. So, and then they can explain it from there. So it really simplifies it, because if anybody ever has any questions later about the tuition program, oh, we missed that one. Is there a makeup? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, because you chose the tuition program. We already factored that in. Like, if you chose the per lesson billing, then yeah, you could have canceled and all that stuff.
Nice.
So it makes it, even though most of my students, pretty much 100% of my travel students are on the tuition program, because that's the other thing. I don't really offer a reserved time slot unless they're on the tuition program. It's kind of like what you do with, like, they just have to like check your schedule, right? And so my people who do the online appointments, they don't have a fixed time slot. They just schedule them as they go.
Yeah, it works great. It's pretty awesome. And again, it's all back to quality of life, right? Which is, so, and jumping into kind of like a couple talking points for the day, is that, and I've just been thinking about this a ton, which is that, this is the time of year where my friends with full-time jobs, working for Facebook and Google and Microsoft, they're buying the latest video games. they're, taking up, they're hanging out, they're going out, the last couple of years of my life have been like, due to the fact, that I have a family and I've got a couple businesses, and that's all kind of gone away a little bit. And that, and I was taking inventory. I was doing this thing that Tim Ferriss talks about a lot, which is, as opposed to just making goals for the next year, which I'm really interested in. I love the regeneration of a new season, is also looking back at the year before and what you were doing and how that felt. And, to be honest, I quit drinking like 6 months ago, right? Just cold turkey. And it's never like that I had a drinking issue. It's like, I didn't have time to drink anymore. And I started going to bed at like 9:30 and read and fall asleep by 10. And I've been diligent about it. And I used to be like an all-nighter, being like, oh man, look what I can do. I practice till 2 a.m. And I wake up at 5 a.m. every day and I meditate for like an hour. And I've been studying that with, and I found that, and I'm really focused on nutrition and exercise, like those 5 areas. And I make as much, and then everything else outside of work is family first, and then try to get some time with friends. And those keys have been the thing that have kept me, I was starting to fall apart, right? From doing so much, I was really getting to the point where I was not just burning out, I was falling apart and wasn't doing anything effective. And those changes were like necessities. They weren't really, and they've, at this point, at the end of the year, I'm like, wow, I'm so busy. And I talk, my friends are all like, Branner, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm doing really well. Like, it sounds on paper like it's a crazy schedule and a crazy amount of work, but my heart's super happy. And the time I spend with my kids is great. And, I wanted to encourage people and hear what other people do. Is like, there's just so much stuff going on that we're all doing when we're self-employed. We all hear about it. We all talk about it. Is like, what are the things that matter most to you as far as things you do to kind of hold it all together? And I wanted to jump that into, so we'll start with that question and then jump that into quickly, and we'll just take maybe 5 minutes to discuss it. Love to hear what you're up to, Lenny. Is that Kayla's here? What the heck? I just saw you jump in.
Hey, yeah, I have you guys muted because I'm taking care of my toddler, but I love everything you're talking about, guys.
Whoa, another rock star sighting. Oh my gosh, it's so nice to see you. Wow.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Amazing to have you on the...
I don't think you can actually see me though, right? I hope not.
No,
you're blocked out.
We don't. Yeah, you're safe. We don't see a thing. It's all good.
Okay, you got a stock photo because there's like kid paint all over my kitchen right now. So.
And Kayla,
glad to be here, guys.
This is a non-judgmental environment, so we've seen it all. It's all good. We've all been there.
Oh, yeah, I know. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. So anyway, I want to kick it off with that, and then I want to jump right into the idea of like looking at goals from 2 different ways for what we're going to do next, and then hopefully have time to identify what our KPIs are going to be, right? And if that's something you even need to do or you want to do, because that's something, these key performance indicators are the kind of thing that I look at every week, every month, to see if it's ultimately, if it's worth doing what I'm doing with my time and my resources. So yeah, let's, anybody want, Lenny, you want to or Kayla, you want to give us a quick jump in about what you do to hold it all together? Kayla, you do a lot too, which is pretty incredible.
Hey, yeah. I just said, I'm just trying to keep up to you. Everything you do is awesome. I just, I don't think you really have to put a lot of thought into it when you're a parent. You just do it. You just have that goal mindset. You just, just check everything off the list from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed at night. That's usually my plan,
Oh my gosh.
I don't really have, the day to day, it does not stay the same. So I'm just here to pick up on all you guys' good ideas. I don't really know what I'm doing.
Awesome. Well, you do, Kayla, it's like seeing all your performance career, your teaching career, all the good energy you put out, all the content you do, super involved with your family. I mean, it's pretty incredible how you're balancing career and family and being an artist too, making music. It's really impressive. And you motivate so many people. And encourage so many people. So it's really, the work you do is really cool, and really appreciated by a ton of people. So including me. So
I appreciate that. It means a lot.
Awesome. And as parents, I would like to agree that we're just surviving, right? The weeks are flying by. We're keeping our kids alive. And it's an impossible battle that we somehow just kind of keep, trudging through and enjoy ourselves while doing it. Is one of my former students who his family was kind of really integral in raising my kids as they grew up. And I don't know if you guys are having that experience yet, where your students become your babysitters, and as your kids are young, your kids are hanging out with your students' houses. Sometimes you take them with you. One of my students, who is a real soccer star, when he was a freshman in high school, he led his high school team to state championship in Washington State, was signed to the Seattle Sounders when he was still in high school. And now he just led the Georgetown Hoyas to an NCAA victory, #1 soccer team in the country. And so It's been so cool seeing my kids follow this and get to know him, and these kind of connections that come through raising a child in a musical environment with these kids that you are part of their life and their development, and their parents are paying you to do it. And yet these kids are really a big part of influencing your children too. And so there's this wonderful cycle that can happen in these communities we're building. It's really fun.
I have to agree with you on that, because I do teach out of my home, and then I also teach out of, it's the Croc Center, Salvation Army. It's kind of like a community center. So it's very, it's based on all ages. And when the kids come to my house, I do have that happen where I run into binds where sometimes I'm I'll have my daughter for 30 minutes and I let the parents know, and they're like, hey, that's fine. They're all just children. Just let them hang out together. And it's amazing how okay it is, I just have this this thought in my mind, we have to have this structured lesson, but it always is okay. And it's more fun when kids are involved, just hanging out.
Yeah, it's okay. And it's part of creating magic too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are where those memories happen, where there's something interesting, something that maybe shouldn't be the norm, or, it's great.
Seriously, it's about putting it together for me, not holding it together.
Yep.
So I'm really more on a personal development path right now than, it started when I left the corporate world and got into the entrepreneurial arena, and I wanted to learn to build websites, and I wanted to do my own graphic design, and I wanted to really legitimately be trained as a professional writer. And, pretty soon you're a year in, but now you have this amazing skill set, and that was kind of where I transitioned to music. And so for about the last year, it's been every day is my number one thing is my own personal musical journey. So, I grew up third generation guitarist, but most of my exposure to music was in my grandpa's church. He was the reverend.
Cool.
And none of them ever taught each other how to play. It's just jump in and follow someone. It was really cool to meet Tony today, because I actually had my very first piano lesson yesterday.
Oh, right.
So music makes a lot more sense to me when I have a keyboard as a teaching tool. One of the big struggles for me right now is I came into this and I felt like I got caught up in a divorce with my parents, where not my literal parents, but my mentors, where one of them, which the training that I went through, Eric, the philosophy is, well, playing music is like learning to talk. And when you were a baby, you learned to talk by listening to other people and talking with them, but you talk for a long time before you learn to read and write. So just teach people how to play, and you can worry about all that reading music and stuff later. That's some very successful businesses out there, but I never really bought into that. I have my own personal background with band class in middle school and high school that I have a lot of foundation that I can build on. But then the other mentor I have is a really snobby music teacher who guitar players aren't welcome, because if you can't read this sheet of music and blah, 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 you know what I mean? So I'm very much having this inner struggle right now and trying to strike that balance. So I feel like the piano lessons is broadening my horizons and helping me also work with someone who's building my confidence and my ability to teach people all the stuff that's really challenging to learn, that you can skip over if you want,
Lenny, that's what you said, two things that are both, again, so awesome and impactful. And you're also, you're in a good spot. One is that as I was doing my inventory about the things that I use as kind of tools to mellow myself out, to manage stress, to stay in the game, and to stay creative and enthusiastic and positive, I forgot to put playing guitar in there and singing and writing music. And I was like, as soon as you said it, I was like, oh my God, how did I not put that in the list? And I'm doing all these things and sketching them. And I still factored in guitar as work because I've been doing it so long. And it's the thing I love to do most is like, so thank you for that reminder, and I do try to make time to play, but I think just hearing you say that reminded me that that's the whole reason I do everything is because I fell in love with guitar when I was a kid because I wasn't any good at sports. And I really appreciate that. And the other thing is the second half of your conversation is like Tony and Kayla are really wizards at this area of teaching piano, but teaching from a place of positivity and learning to play and express yourself and be creative and to be a human, and that an authentic human is what our real goal is as an artist. And they teach that, and to where, yes, sight reading is cool, whatever, that can be a conversation they have forever. But ideas of theory can be so much more playful. How the big pictures of how things work together, and both of these folks, Lenny, are folks that you might want to follow up with a chat later or a conversation later, but that really live it. And and I love reading scores because I'm a classical guitar player, right? And I love looking at a score, but I know it has nothing to do with being musical, right? Most of my favorite guitar players don't read, it can be part of the journey and it can be part of the learning, but that's mostly for parents to say their kids read music, right? So anyway, thanks for sharing that, and that's a really great motivation.
I would love, if we have a moment, I would love to just like follow up on a couple things Lenny just mentioned.
Yeah, take a couple minutes, do it.
So you said a lot of good things there, and I agree. Like the piano is the visual layout of the piano is fantastic. I play a little guitar too, and it's like, I'm like a C- guitar player, but the it's just so abstract. It's just this grid. It's like, where are all the C's? They're hard, like, for me, just looking at it, it's like just hard to identify. So I agree that the piano is a great instrument to get them out to kind of unfold like theoretical concepts and things. But my whole approach, I struggled with a lot of what Lenny's talking about early on, and I realized that the most important thing for me was just interest. I need to just plug into their interest, because when I first started, I thought everybody was just going to love this as much as I did, and like I would just show them stuff and they'd be ready to go. But it was like I got this feeling like, man, if I don't like change something about this, like in 10 years I'm going to be very good at like teaching this stuff that like nobody really cares about. And so I just switched it up, and I said I'd let them make the decisions, decide what they want to learn. And my whole thing is thinking that like they can decide what they get to play without necessarily determining what they get to learn. And we can, we can decide how we're going to unfold certain concepts. And sometimes, I'll teach them about something, but then there's something in the song that's too advanced for them. So I'm just like, all right, just do this now. Just put your hands here. Like, we'll talk about that later. Like, it's going to be too far beyond what they need. So, and the other area of it, which a lot of people understand that concept of interest-led learning and just letting the children kind of like decide what they want to do. But the other part of it is really student-directed teaching, which I don't think people understand quite as much, which is really just letting the student have a lot of control over how the lesson unfolds. Like, I was even talking with Clinton Pratt about this. I got to meet him. He was in Boston area, and we met up for a chat, like in real life, which is really cool. And we talked about how like we could teach a whole lesson just asking questions, like doing nothing but asking questions. Like, how are you today? What do you want to show me? How did that go? What would you like to do next? And then just through us just asking questions, it forces them to be involved and engaged. And then my approach really is to kind of disappear in the lesson and just listen for their questions. And I've also been reading some stuff from Ann Davis in some of our groups too. And she just, I haven't looked at the research, but she was saying something the other day. She's like, about how she never asks a question without providing, I may have this wrong. So, but like, this is how I heard it, was like, you never ask a question of a student without providing the answer. And so you kind of just give them all the information, and eventually they start to take over. And then they start getting involved. Like, you say, okay, and then they jump in. Oh, I know the answer, and so they don't get stuck in this, what note is this, on the staff, and trying to figure, they feel like kind of stupid. They don't know how to do it. They, or just, they feel bad about it. you just help them throughout this whole process until the point where they just kind of take over and get involved in that. But those are my strategies for having like really peaceful relationships with all my students. If you can get a kid to walk out of the lesson happier than when they walked in, it doesn't even matter if they learned anything. Like, they just like, they're in a better mood than they walked in with, and like you can connect on something. It's more about the positive experience, and that's what I see lessons as. It's your word, because the knowledge doesn't matter. I can go online and figure out all this stuff. You don't need me to teach you how to build scales. You don't need me. So like the definition that I've heard, and maybe you've heard this in the corporate world, is knowledge worker. So what's a knowledge worker? We add value to information. So the information's available. You don't need me for that, you know? And I same thing I told people. I said, I made this book. You don't need the book. Like, you can go find this somewhere else. This is just my way of showing it to you. This is the way my brain works. But, you know, they have to learn to create their own learning experiences, because if they just absorb it, if they just absorb everything, then they only do what they know, and they don't ever tap into that creative side. So yeah, man, you got it.
Yeah, these are really awesome. And to wrap this up, I got to share this, is that, you know, I'm the president of the Seattle chapter of the MTNA, right? And so we have one of the biggest chapters in the country. It's probably one of the most vibrant. But the reality is that the average demographic in our Seattle Music Teachers Association is 55 years old to 65, piano teacher, right? And you know, one of our members stopped by yesterday to bring me some Christmas cookies, which was really sweet. We sat down, had a coffee together, and I see these, and I hear about this a lot, is this frustration of how the market has shifted, right? Where earlier in their careers, people were really grinding it out. People were really, you know, pushing students, you know, that old school mentality, and it shifted so much to where, you know, the teachers like Tony and Kayla are coming in and doing this kind of vibe-based, really interactive, really providing an in real life experience during this disconnected time, connecting their kids. Like, that's the value proposition now, which is different. Hey, before we jump into the next topic, I want to welcome Daniel, who I don't know if you guys know. He's a new friend of mine, but somebody I've followed his work for a long time. He's a super heavy, he's the Grow Your Music Studio guy. It's kind of a really welcome visit. Daniel, hello. I'm glad you're here. We've been chatting a lot, and I was actually wanting to weave. I'm just going to take a second. We had a great conversation. We've had a few great conversations, and he really has impressed me with what he's doing and the work he's doing. And we were talking this week, and I was like, oh, damn it, why am I not recording this? Because I wanted to take some of we were vibing, you know how it goes. And I left with this really one great takeaway, is that he was expressing this idea of making these changes is hard work, right? And whatever we do, like, my studio is relatively stagnant because I'm not willing to put the hard work into it right now, and it's kind of running itself, right? And maintaining itself. And I got off being really motivated, being like, oh man, what's the hard work that I need to do at multiple levels in different companies that I'm operating in? And it was really motivational. So Daniel, I want to just let you say hi really quick, because I'm really glad you're here and to this group.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually recognize some faces from here because Kayla and Tony, you started that Facebook group about a month ago or maybe 2 months ago, and it's been interesting seeing this kind of things that are posted in there. It's a different flavor and feel than a lot of the other groups that are out there, and it's been kind of interesting to see the culture that's being created there. Yeah,
cool, man.
Yeah, so glad to be here. Just just listening in, seeing what you all have going on, and just soaking it in.
Daniel, would you want to take just 30 seconds? I'll give you a quick overview. As we're kind of from all over the place, from just starting out to have been doing it forever. You want to take 30 seconds, just kind of tell us what you're about and what you're working on right now?
Sure. So again, I don't know how familiar everyone is, but in 2015, I started as a blog, Grow Your Music Studio, and it was really kind of a way to put out there like different perspectives that I had on growth and marketing. And I think at the time, some of the stuff that I was talking about wasn't common knowledge or commonly thought about. And in that, since that time, we've now worked with somewhere between 300 to 400 studios in various respects. Either we're managing their marketing for them, they've joined one of our coaching programs. We've supported a lot of different levels in helping people improve their studios, grow numbers, build marketing systems, things of that nature. We're closing up on our best year ever. The grow has grown by somewhere about 30 to 40% over last year in terms of the numbers of studios we've helped. Very excited for kind of where we're going in 2020. I almost said 2015. I have no idea why. That's kind of what I'm about and what we do. It's not just me anymore. Even this month, I've hired a new video editor. So there's kind of a team that's around me that's doing customer service and marketing and operations behind the scenes and things of that nature. So, we're really dedicated to the idea of helping studio owners make the kind of income they want to make and live the kind of life they want to live. I think that is a huge value for me, and this will be the last thing I say, but I think that's kind of a huge value for me because, I came into the industry in 2004 thinking that there were expectations I had of what were the upper limits that I could do in this business. And as I experimented, I really stretched those boundaries for myself. And I think even stretched boundaries beyond what a lot of people in the industry saw as possible. And I think what really motivates me and excites me is being able to share that vision, not only share a vision, an abstract vision for someone in the music studio world who owns a studio, not just that abstract vision, but actually show them the concrete steps to get there for themselves. And that's kind of what I'm about, what Grow Your Music Studio is about.
Yeah. And I love the content you're generating. I love your message. And the thing that I think I appreciate most in our couple conversations we have is I think you're one of the few people that has invested a ton into yourself and like getting really great coaching, really learning KPIs, goal setting, and most importantly, thinking at a bigger level, right? Being like, okay, this is what a school could really do, which is not just because so many, I feel like it's like, well, you can get by. Here's a quality. You're looking at like really running it as a business, right? And really, and growing it and being creative like that. So I've really appreciated that. So thanks for joining us. What I wanted to do is kind of piggyback off that and just kind of have a momentary discussion because I feel like we're all in very different spots and we've talked a lot about goals. And going into this next year is we talked about honesty of goals and authenticity of what we really want to do. Is I'm restructuring mine based on two sides, which I'm always been KPI oriented. How much do I need to make a month how much do I want my teaching business to do a month? How many, how many new students do I want to bring in? What do I need to do that? And this year I'm trying to look at my lifestyle first, right? Which is why we started the day talking about tactics that we do to keep ourselves sane and focusing on being creative, energized, enthusiastic humans. But also to be like, would it be better for me to make an extra $3,000 a month in my music studio? Or would it be better for me to cut $3,000 of my expenses out, right? And really, and look at, and these are personal questions, obviously, because you're looking at a root, right? How much do we want to work? And this is, again, I come back to my friends working at Facebook and Google. They don't have these conversations so much. They've been said, we give you X amount of dollars. That's a lot to live your life. And you can get the new Xbox every time it comes out and buy all the games and go out, and do the axe throwing at the bars because that's a new cool thing to do. We're entrepreneurs. And so we have to say, okay, what am I willing to give up to live this lifestyle that's free? Or how am I going to adjust my business to continually grow it, right? And this is where we have to be honest with ourselves to be like, yeah, do I want to make, do I want to blow my studio up next year and hire a bunch of people and like get it over $500,000? Do I want to, or do I want to just really focus on my friends and meditation or start surfing or whatever? So, I'd be interested in hearing kind of a little bit about what everybody thinks about it, kind of where they are. I know, Kayla, you're so busy, you're doing so much already. And this idea of like, is it worth the hard work? The thing that I took from our conversation with Daniel, is it worth it to make these changes that take a lot of energy. And I mention it because I have been lackadaisical about my music business because I'm doing so many other things and it runs itself. But I'm missing out on so many opportunities, right? My website, I get 500 or 600 downloads a month of my book that I put out. All these leads are just sitting there. I've got probably 8,000 or 10,000 people on a mailing list that I don't use, that are just people that are interested in guitar, right? Because I don't have time to. So I'd love to hear what you guys think, like where you are. I know, Daniel, I had a great idea what you're doing, and I think we're kind of in similar worlds. But if anybody'd like to share something, I'd love to hear it.
I think that's amazing, everything you're doing, and I agree with what you're saying. Like with all the leads that stack up. I mean, I feel like as musicians, we're never truly settled. We can never truly feel like our work is done. We're like, I have a lot of friends that work 8 to 5 jobs. They're home. They can shut that off. They're done. But like with us, we're getting emails in the middle of the night. We're getting leads. I have a Facebook page, like a teaching page. I'm getting referrals there. I'm getting referrals through email at my other teaching job, the community center, and requests there. So sometimes it's like, I feel so great that I'm so wanted in all these areas, but you're right. It is about your lifestyle first, and you're just going to burn out. Like I try to see it, as long as, I have enough saved and I feel comfortable living and I can take care of my family, I can feel rich in other aspects of my life, like going camping or, going out with friends, or like you said, surfing. I don't surf, but because I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin, but I have other things that I love to run. I go running a couple times a week, and it's just like the little things in life. Like when you reflect back, like if you think 50 years from now, if you reflect back, like was being like super rich one of your goals, or was it like being rich in your own family, having those memories, those experiences, being present. So it's really about that balance, like what you want. So that's kind of where I'm at. And it's always a constant, like which one is it going to be today? Because I have that list too. I mean, nowhere close to yours, but I have that list too. I'm like, man, I can make this much more money this month if I took on these people, but that's also that many hours away from my daughter, my family,
Which you'll never get back. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's just so, it's such an important question is to balance out what we want to do with our lives. And this kind of like, I'm trying, coming back, it's a gift to be alive, And it's like, it's kind of, if you're not going to do something with your life, like, it's kind of like my buddies that are playing video games all the time or just hang out, whatever. It's like, it's cool, do your thing. But it's like, why we want to have as much impact as we want to. We know at the end of the day that money isn't what makes us happy, but it's also part of our building, call it what you want, our brand or our mission, and having that all in alignment, right? Before making blind goals and before making these big plans is really important. And sometimes you can get too comfortable, right? Where then you're not growing and then you're not feeling, so we kind of owe it to ourselves to like connect with people like Daniel and see what he's about and be like, okay, well, maybe I could do this in the same amount of time and reach this many more people, or, impact this many more people if that's important, or hand off a lot of my tasks and, take them over. That's something I'm really working towards. Is I'm terrible at delegating, because I love doing everything, like Lenny was saying. And that's the thing that's 2020 for me, is delegating a lot of tasks that I should not be that I should not be doing myself. So those are beautiful words, Kayla, and you do a lot. Oh my gosh. And I'm not seeing that paint all over you that I was hoping to see when you were talking about earlier. You look pretty put together.
You should see my kitchen.
Oh, got it.
It's mostly on the floor, so yeah, thanks.
But we'll put together these questions that we're asking in kind of a form, like, wow, just making sure we're in alignment with what we want to do, right? Before we go making these really big marketing plans and decisions and weighing them out from a little bit more of a authentic and like holistic manner for who we really are, and and maybe committing to doing some hard work. I love that takeaway, Daniel. Like, it stuck with me, where I was like, dude, yeah, it's all hard. Sometimes we got to do it, not just for the paycheck, but like to make our impact, to make it's our legacy, right? And we're all dynamic people doing stuff. So does anybody else have any like thoughts in the new year, things they're working for, big goals they want to share, things they want to pivot into, things that might be worth, biting something off, doing some hard work, getting some help on it? Lenny.
I have one thing that's I've kind of walked myself to the edge, and now I just need someone to give me the confidence to jump in. I want to launch my referral program, and I plan for it to be totally funded by the money that I charge for my introductory lesson. I want that to be one of the most important and best lessons that I'll have with the student. I'm anticipating that it would be a very full 45 minutes to an hour. And I want to be able to, and keep in mind that I'm traveling to my students, I want to be able to charge $100 for that introductory lesson and then offer that as a referral. And of course, where I'm at, that's a really hard thing to build the confidence to do. So I just wondered if anyone or if everyone in the group had an opinion on it, or if they thought that I was on the right track. One of the things I thought maybe to juice it up would be to, if they do enroll in a package at the introductory lesson, then I would give them their first lesson for free, in their package. So, but that's kind of where I'm at. I would just know that you guys have probably all had to fight that battle and have found out what worked or doesn't work. So it'd be really stupid for me not to ask you guys if you thought I was on the right track.
I was just going to say, I like your idea of if they buy a package, they get the first lesson free. I feel like that's kind of like a bonus, like here you can have something free. People like the feeling of free. I like that.
Well, could I jump in on that? Could I give him some feedback?
Yep.
So, this probably sounds crazy, and because the way, and my situation is a little different right now because there's a difference between trying to grow a studio and like maintaining a studio, and I'm more at the maintaining a studio right now, where my growth is through just raising prices and things like that. But as far as like my number of students, but I typically do not charge for the first session, which sounds crazy because I'm traveling to them and I'm going to do it. But the only way that a student ever gets, because I don't market at all, I don't ever advertise. So the only way that a student gets to me is through a referral from a family that I already have, or they've seen something that I've done online. So I already know it's usually a pretty good lead, and they have to like kind of pass the phone interview. I always go do a phone call too, to make sure, because the most important thing for me that with the quality of life thing is like working with the right families who have the right instruments and all that stuff. I need everything to kind of be in place so that I feel really good about this relationship that's going to most likely carry on for years, maybe even a decade. I've thought of doing different things myself, where charging for the first session, and actually like now that I actually have like some products and things, I've been thinking about like instead charge for that first session like my normal rate, like I normally would, and then actually just like kind of gift them these like tools that they're going to need. Like I have like this like $40 like care package, $40 worth of products of things that I would want them to get involved with, where like even if they don't sign up for a package, like here's this stuff. This is all good stuff for music. Even if you go study with somebody else, like this will be useful to you. Different things like that. I know it seems crazy, but like for me, I know a lot of you, like it's interesting to see, like being able to talk to Daniel too, because I've never been on a live thing with Daniel, but I've talked to a lot of people who have taken Daniel's courses and have like they'll ask me questions and they'll say like some of the stuff, and I know his system works fantastic. Like I know some studios that just like really ramped up after taking his courses, and it's just interesting sharing that feedback. But like I know for me, it's like I would do better to probably think more about the money sometimes, but I always just go back to I'm more like what you were talking about before, where I'd probably rather lower my expenses by $3,000, simplify my life, and just have just feel good about every interaction that I have. And it's not like those can't work together. Like you can run a sick music studio, and feel great about that too. But I know for myself, I just really like the individual one-to-one lessons, and I just want to feel really great about the people that I'm working with. So that's why I do that first introductory lesson. I don't like to charge because I'm like, what if I don't want to work with them? That's kind of how I feel. Like if I get there and I don't want them to pay for something, and then I don't want to follow through with it.
Can I piggyback
that's kind
off
of been
you?
my attitude.
Tony,
Yeah.
Can I piggyback really quickly, and then because I think this is this is a great talking point. In that, Lenny, I'm the same way. I do a meet and greet. I'm very aware of the LTV or the lifetime value of each of my clients. You know, I charge a lot. I'm a private studio. I'm well above the market in Seattle, and that is my secret to staying busy because I've been doing it just like Tony. We've been doing it about 20 years, right? And so our studios kind of market themselves, and I know that each one of my students is going to have a LTV between $4,000 and $6,000, meaning that on average, right? So that first meeting is a pitch and a getting to know each other and seeing if you're in alignment before you make that agreement, which is really different than like the big music schools we work with, right? Where they know it's going to, in general, be a shorter relationship. You know, these are the big multi-studio schools. They have kind of a different flow, and maybe they can't afford to have that first engagement. But so those are things we can really discuss. You're launching the idea I want to just quickly hit. You're launching a referral strategy, right? Which is very impactful. And I have an example of this, which is that, and I'm doing a lot of research on referrals in this age are interesting in that people want to refer not for the spliff, right? People refer me because my students get full rides to universities or win national championships like they did last week for the Georgetown Hoyas. They somehow equate the fact that those kids hung out with me to the fact that Paul Rothrock scored 2 goals in a national championship game. And so that makes my phone ring, right? And I don't talk about this a lot, but in the world of Fons, most of our marketing right now, and just to be fully, we spend almost all of our money on engineering this incredible platform, right? And that's what we're really proud of. And customer success people like Micah, so there's real life people there. Our marketing budgets up to this point have mostly been through word of mouth to allow the platform to grow organically. We built, and over the last couple of years, we've spent a lot of money building a referral platform. We have the highest paid referral fee of any software out there, right? And our growth is mostly from word of mouth. 90% of the people that refer people will not use the referral links to get the $50, right? We send people $50 to get their friends to sign up. And Mike has a hard time tracking it. And we'll end up asking people and be like, oh, didn't that person, and then we'll send them the referral. But people seem to not be doing it for the money as much unless they have a background in affiliates, like the people that came last time, right? And so, yeah, we're happy to send people the money, but a lot of people don't want it, right? Or they don't need it, or they would rather just say, I use this because I think it's good. And so that's been a big learning experience for us, as though this may be a thing to launch you off the ground, is that ultimately people are going to want to study you if you're awesome. And if it says, yeah, my kid's studying with Lenny, that dude's rad. And my kid's basically dropped his ADHD medications for some reason since Lenny started hanging out with him, right? And he can make eye contact and knows how to shake hands, and he can burn the solo to like Stairway to Heaven. It's like whatever. So I think launching it, and being willing to change how you're operationally doing it. Maybe play with the idea of offering a free meet and greet once you get a little bit of established, like what Tony and I do. And be willing to tweak it as you go, because it may be different for you.
I absolutely want to be where Tony is and where you are. And for those of you guys who don't know, I fired off like 25 questions at Eric about his introductory lesson the first time I met him, and because I was so intrigued by why wouldn't you charge for it, or what's the benefit. And so to hear someone like Tony, who actually is spending time traveling, still offer it for free, it really crystallizes like what I feel deeply inside me, that's what I would want to do. But I feel like when I'm in hustle mode and I've got nothing really pushing behind me, that this might be worthwhile to do this big referral program as I'm out kind of doing all this initial networking and kind of guerrilla marketing for a business that no one's heard of, and I have no word of mouth, So I think part of what my challenge was, is $100 sound crazy? Or does that sound realistic to charge your full hourly rate for an introductory lesson?
I think that's totally fine, man. To charge your full rate for the introductory lesson. The one thing I have to say is, like, to me, the phone call is super important. I need the phone call. If I can't get a person that wants to talk to me on the phone, I probably don't want to work with them anyway. because I know that like that's not cool anymore. Like people don't want to talk on the phone, but it's like I don't want to sit there and email stuff and wait and go back and forth. And I have to say, like, in 17 years of doing this, I've gotten to the point where I can just tell on the phone. I can tell in 30 seconds if this is going to work out or not. And I've only in 17 years, I've given away one free lesson that didn't turn into a long-term student, like for years.
That's a conversion rate.
I can't tell you the last, and that was like a mutual decision on both parts. We were just like, yeah, they're not ready. But it's like most of the time they already know they're ready to go. And it's kind of the way that I pitch it to them too. Is it's like there's scarcity in this. It's like if you want to study with me, like even if you have like lots of openings, sometimes I think like, you know, when people ask like when could you, you know, give them two options. I can meet you this time or this time. You know, don't say, oh, I've got Fridays open for, you know, make it look like you're busy. I got this one spot. This is a good opportunity. Most of the time, like it'll get to the point where you're full and people will be waiting. And when they get that phone call, it's like, hey, I got a spot in your area. They're going to be like, I want it. Yeah. You're not going to need to give away. I don't need to give away free lessons. I don't need to do it. I know people will pay the money. It's already been endorsed. It's just what I've been doing. So I just keep doing it. And I don't really care that much because like one lesson fee doesn't change my life anyway. So it feels good to them. And, but I will say that, man, the phone call is good. And if you can get to a place where you feel like you can kind of like suss these people out, and then, you know, you can have it both ways. You know, you can feel it out on the phone. If you feel like it's not going to work, you can say, okay, well, I can do an introductory lesson. It's $100 for your introductory lesson. But if you got a good vibe and it feels good and you know it's going to feel good to them, say, yeah, first one's on me or whatever. You can, you know, that's the thing. You don't have to decide and then stick to that the whole time. You can switch it up case by case. And I learned a lot of that from Eric too, which is just like this whole idea of like level pricing where just like everybody's, you know, oh, I need to raise my whole studio or I can't raise my price. Like, no, like new students come in at a new higher rate. And I can easily justify that to anybody who calls me. I say, you know, they say, oh, well, this family says they pay less. Yeah, well, guess what? That family started with me 2 years ago. You're getting a much better teacher than they got when they started. I'm a lot, you know, because we're all better teachers than we were a year ago. So it's totally fine. I have no problem saying it. And the other thing is you should thank them because they told you about me. You wouldn't have found out about it anyway.
Once again, and Tony is definitely pointing out that I'm just afraid to raise rates on my clients.
Just do it, man.
Yeah, I'm fine doing it for new ones and just being bold as can be. And then like, you know,
not like you, I'm scared too.
Yeah, the old ones, I'm like, I can't do it. Hey, Daniel,
I'm scared too, man.
Daniel, did you have any thoughts on that idea really quickly before we start to wrap it up for the day?
I really agree with what Tony said. It's funny, you know, Tony, I don't know if we've ever really had a direct conversation, but your thinking on all of this it resonates greatly. It's a lot that I've thought. The only thing I would say, and Lenny, I don't want you to feel like I'm piling on. Do you mind if I ask you a question? The question would be, what is the motivation for you? And you might have already said it, and maybe I just am thick or something, but the motivation for the charge for the first lesson, at the core, what is that motivation? Because there could be a couple, you know, it could be like, I want them to really take this seriously. It could be you're trying to make the money. There's a lot, but for you at the core, what is that motivation?
Part of it is funding my referral program. Part of it is that process of not ending up with a student that's going to quit on me in 6 months because their parents had a bad month financially and they can't really afford what they're doing. But other than that, I would love to, you know, follow like the whole mentality that Tony just articulated of, you know, if I like you and we vibe, I'd be more than happy to invest the time in the relationship and be confident that it'll grow into something worthwhile for both of us, you know.
When you say funding the referral program, maybe you said it before I came on the call, but can you tell me the mechanism? In other words, are you paying for referrals and therefore you're going to take that money and then pay out a referral fee? Like, can you explain to me what you mean by that?
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to be able to offer a $100 referral and have that basically match the referral payout to match the introductory lesson. So it was a break even.
Got it. Okay. That's helpful. And then you also said that there's like this idea that you have you don't want 6 months down the road for them to be a bad match. Can again, and you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to, but like in terms of how does that connect up in your mind? In other words, like if they have to pay you at the beginning, they're probably more serious. Is that what you're thinking? I don't want to put words in your mouth, though.
No. All the questions you're asking are great. I felt like, I guess the fear is if I did it for free, I may end up wasting a lot of time with people who maybe don't financially have the resources to afford a weekly lesson.
Yes.
A way to qualify the lead is what you're trying to say. You know, so yeah, go ahead.
So this is the thought that I would put in your head, and I'm by no means, you didn't ask for this. This is unsolicited, so reject it, accept it, think about, whatever. I don't have a lot of energy wrapped up in this solution, so to speak. But what I would say is that the way that you start a relationship with a student, it's that old it's that old commercial from the 80s. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression.
Yeah. That
first impression can be so. Of course, I was only 8 when the 80s ended, so I don't know how I know that. But anyway, I think it resonates, and I think that's the idea I've taken. And if I stop there, it'd be no more than what Tony said, and so I'm not really adding any value. This is maybe the only other thought I would add on top of that, and it's this: that if you find yourself giving a lot of free lessons and people aren't signing up, I wouldn't look for a remedy in trying to fund the lesson. What I would look for a remedy in is what is the offer you're making? Because if they're not accepting the offer, you could pay them to be at the lesson, and after 5 months they'll quit anyway because they're not getting the value. So if there's a fear there, if there's a fear there, I totally respect that fear. What I would say is make sure the offer is really good, hone your script in terms of what that phone consultation's like, or what that trial lesson, free lesson, intro lesson, whatever you want to call it, is like. So for instance, there's a student I worked with on the East Coast. They had about 600 students. They don't even do a free lesson. They just do a phone consultation, and then they have a 1 month money back guarantee. But because the parents really enjoy so much that first month, no one ever takes them up on it. So they're actually putting the risk of losing money after they've already paid out to their teachers. It's about the product at the end of the day. So I totally respect that fear. I would just say that there's different ways of mitigating it, and I would say the way to do that is in the marketing piece, how you're getting them in, what you're promising, and then your ability to qualify those buyers. So,
hey Daniel,
I hope that's helpful.
I know we got to go in a second, but since you're talking, can I ask you? And one quick question following up on Lenny's deal. So Lenny's talking, and I want to just get
Sure.
So because the reality is, like, a lot of us, I don't do a lot of marketing for my studio right now. Tony doesn't either. Kayla probably doesn't have to either. Lenny is trying to get his first 5 Keystone students. Right? He's in Sarasota. There's money there. He's building out a referral, which I see that a little further down the funnel, right? Once you got students, then you can start thinking about how the referrals are going to work. If you were working with someone like Lenny, what would be like the 2 or 3 areas that you'd put 90% of your energy into to develop those leads, so then he can work on that pitch, getting those people into their first lessons? Once we're in there, we can kind of make it happen. Like once they show up, you can be like, then you do the sales. But getting those people in the door, imagine no contacts, you're in a new town. Where is the where would be a good place to focus, or where would you encourage people to focus? Because that's what you do, right? You grow studios, right? So you're into the growth phase. What would you tell somebody like that?
I would say to spend an outsized amount of time with your initial customers, talking to them, asking them questions, understanding their motivations for enrolling children or teenagers in the program, what their fears are, and then backwards designing your message to kind of hook up to those receptors that every parent has.
What if he has no students yet? What if he has? How about lead gen?
So what to actually do for lead generation?
Yeah, because I think that's the area that I kind of hear him needing to focus on is having someone to talk to.
Right. So that's a really nuanced.
Okay.
So that's super nuanced, but I mean, in general, I would say that I've worked with studios where they moved into a new area. They had 0 students. And one of the things I told them to work on almost immediately, and again, I don't think this is controversial, but I'm fully aware that this isn't for everyone. Like, I don't know if Tony would do this, but I would prime that pump through paid ads. The reason why I hesitate to say that is that it's easy to get that wrong. I literally talked to a studio owner this morning, 9 a.m., who they're trying to grow, they're stuck, and he put $300 into Google Ads like a month or two ago, 0 to show for it. But when I started asking him, when I started asking him questions about what he did, I could see why it didn't work. So I have to put an asterisk by that piece of advice, because it isn't just, I put $300 into it, and like I put a quarter into in 1991 you put a quarter into a Pepsi machine, you get a Pepsi out. Not anymore. But why am I so obsessed with like my past right now?
He's a vintage dude today. Yeah.
But anyway, so blah blah blah. Organically, get on Google My Business, find one or two local Facebook groups that are for your immediate area. Get permission from those admins to start promoting your studio. These sorts of things. I'll just say, and Lenny, I don't know, you may not know me or whatever, but if you go to my website, I actually have an ebook on how to promote for free using Facebook. So you can just download that ebook. Actually, I'll just put it in the chat. It's at growyourmusicstudio.com/FB guide.
And we'll share that in Fons family too, Daniel.
Sure. This ebook's been downloaded like about 6,000 times in the last 3 years. So it's something I stand by. It's been helpful for a lot of people, but there's a lot of free / organic strategies in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, and thank you, because I know that man, this is
what I do every day.
Yeah. So I really appreciate it. And Lenny's got the chops, and you've got the discipline. So, guys, we've gone over. It's been such an awesome chat. Mike, I see you there, and we didn't get to hear your lovely voice. How are you doing, brother? You good? You're muted. Hold on. Let me just say hi to you real quick, bud. You good?
It's good to be alive, like you said. And,
sorry.
and I can learn more from listening to you guys than hearing my own voice. So it's all good,
Well, I appreciate you showing up. Guys, I'm so grateful that everyone that made it here. I love the core of what we're doing. I'm looking forward to keeping this going. I'm going to follow up with a post of kind of the stuff we talked about. Really would love to share the work you guys are doing in our group, because there's no reason not to. It's really helpful. I'm sure, you guys can connect on your own if you have, questions or want to follow up with each other. We're going to keep this train going. We probably won't do it next week, because I think it's Christmas Eve. Gosh, that's coming really fast.
I'm down.
I know, yeah, dude. But I'm looking forward to it. Please, when you have ideas or questions of things that might want to come up as topics, please do. Again, thank you so much. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say on the way out, or have a comment before they take off? We all good? Kayla?
Can I? Yeah, really quick. Larry, are you in our group?
Lenny.
In 88?
And Lenny, I'd love to connect with you more on this stuff and help with any advice that I can too. One thing I'll say that I do a lot, because I've never done really a paid ad, but one thing that has worked really well for me is just kind of like really subtle marketing, which is I let people know in every conversation that I'm in like a non-obnoxious way that like I'm a piano teacher. And sometimes that's just by saying, I'm talking to somebody about something like, oh yeah, one of my piano students, like does that or something. Or I have a piano student that's into that, and people are like, oh, you teach piano. All of a sudden you're at a coffee shop, you're talking, you're talking to a kid and you say something about like, oh, one of my students. So, oh, what do you teach? And all of a sudden that just opens up the conversation, man. And you won't, I'm not sure, you say you teach piano and guitar, or whatever you teach, but it's like, as soon as you mention that, people are like, I'm in the presence of a musician. Like they want to talk to you, because like everybody like loves music, So that really opens the door. Just somehow find a way to get out there and just let people know you're a piano teacher, even in these situations where you're just like these social situations where you just bump into people, because you never know, man. You might make a friend, you know, and then they might turn into a client, you know, and it works out really cool. Because either if they don't want to do it themselves, a lot of times they'll say, do you have a card? Like one of my sister's kid or something wants to play, and we've been looking for somebody. And you come to the house, forget about it, man. That is like gold for people. People don't want to leave.
They don't want to leave.
So,
oh my gosh.
To piggyback on that, I think that's absolutely great. I love what Tony does, and I believe in it. And to piggyback on that, I found that when I'm talking to strangers, because we're all the same. We all come from the same place, even though we call each other strangers. I found that if you see that the other person is receptive and you just ask them from a genuine place, hey, what do you do? Then there's no way in hell that they're not going to ask you, what do you do? So, you know.
You get it out there. Mm-hmm. Personal connection is the thing. That's your gift, Mike. You're really, and well, all of you guys. That's all. You know, speaking of, we need to say hi to Micah before we go. Micah, thanks for hanging out. World's greatest customer success human being. I see you.
Thank you for fixing all my problems.
Yeah, no worries. My pleasure listening to all you guys. It's like a really good ideas in there.
Awesome.
So it's my first one I've hung out in.
Well, lurk away, Micah. We'll put you on the spot more next time.
I heard KPI and I was in.
I said that was just for you, Micah. And I'm looking forward to discussing it more. We're going to wrap this stuff up. We'll post the video again, edit it up, and break it down. Everyone, hey, thank you so much for being here. You're all awesome. Keep those topics coming, and I look forward to doing it again. So everybody, have a great holiday season, whatever you guys do, and look forward to hanging in the near future. Thanks for being here, guys. Have a good day.
Yeah, man.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Thanks, Eric. Bye.